Sir Ilyn Payne presents an interesting situation when it comes to him being missing from the show, as for the first 2 seasons he was there, and why he became a missing character is a lot more complicated than choices the writers made. In the book, Ilyn is described as a grim man, tall and thin, with a clean-shaven, pock-marked face. He has a deep set of pale, colourless eyes and hollow cheeks. He is almost completely bald, but for a few wisps of hair. Since he is tongueless, Ilyn can only voice a choking rattle and a cackling laugh. Due to his appearance, as well as his silence, many people find him terrifying, a suitable trait for the king's justice. He wears an old rusted chainmail, iron grey, over boiled leather, and wields a large 2-handed greatsword with a stained leather hilt strapped over his right shoulder to keep the scabbard on his back. While Ilyn keeps the steel of his weapon immaculate, his armour and chambers within the Red Keep's dungeons are poorly kept. Ilyn is a skilled executioner. It has been said he has never botched an execution or seldom required more than a single stroke to finish off his prisoners. Since he cannot speak, nor read or write, Ilyn needs to delegate much to his underlings, such as Yennefer Longwaters. From the little we know about his past, Sir Ilyn was once the captain of the guard for Lord Tywin Lannister, during the time Tywin served as Hand of the King for Aerys II Targaryen, the Mad King. Ilyn was overheard saying it was Tywin who truly ruled the 7 kingdoms, rather than Aerys, so the king had Ilyn's tongue torn out with hot pincers, as punishment for the comment. After Robert's rebellion against House Targaryen, Ilyn was named as the king's justice by Robert Baratheon. This was to compensate Ilyn for the tongue he lost in service of House Lannister. During the events of A Game of Thrones, Sir Ilyn Payne is among the members of the king's court who come north near to the Trident to escort King Robert Baratheon back to King's Landing after his trip to Winterfell. Sansa Stark is terrified of Ilyn upon seeing him. The girl attempts to apologise for having possibly offended him, but the knight turns away without responding or acknowledging Sansa at all. After Prince Joffrey Baratheon is attacked by Arya Stark's direwolf Nymeria, Robert agrees with Queen Cersei Lannister that Sansa's direwolf lady can be executed at Darry. The king expects Ilyn to kill the beast, but Sansa's father, Lord Eddard Stark, says he will do it himself. When Eddard Stark sits the Iron Throne as Hand of the King while Robert goes hunting in the Kingswood, instead of sending Ilyn to hunt down Sir Gregor Clegane for his raids against the Riverlands, Ned grants command to Lord Beric Dondarrion, as has Clegane and Payne are both sworn to House Lannister. According to Lord Varys, Ilyn did not look pleased at Lord Stark's decision. However, given Ilyn's ties to Tywin Lannister, Eddard's decision does make sense. Later, when Eddard is arrested by the Lannisters after Robert's death for trying to depose Joffrey Baratheon, Ilyn takes the ancestral Valyrian steel sword of House Stark, Ice, for his own. When Lord Stark publicly confesses to treason at the Great Set to Baelor, it was expected he would be allowed to join the Night's Watch as agreed by all parties involved. However, King Joffrey instead shocks the attendees, including his own council and mother, by ordering Sir Ilyn to bring him Ned Stark's head. In the aftermath, while a captive at the Red Keep, Sansa has numerous nightmares of Ilyn. During the events of A Clash of Kings, Tyrion Lannister sends Eddard Stark's bones to Robb Stark, the king in the north, but refuses to return Ice to House Stark until peace is made. Thus the sword is still in the possession of Sir Ilyn. During the Battle of the Blackwater, Cersei has Ilyn remain with her in the Queen's ballroom of Maegor's Holdfast in the Red Keep. When Osfred Kettleback informs the Queen that the groom and 2 maidservants were caught trying to flee the Red Keep with 3 of the king's horses, she has Ilyn execute them and place their heads on pikes outside the stables. Sansa sees the blood drying on ice after Ilyn kills the 3 condemned servants. Cersei reveals that the true reason for Ilyn's presence is to have him kill Sansa and herself if Stannis Baratheon is victorious in the battle. The armies of Lord Tywin Lannister and Mace Tyrell arrive just in time and force Stannis to retreat, however. When the Turncloaks and the hostages are presented in the throne room after the battle, a defiant bastard of House Florent hails Stannis as the true king and denounces Joffrey as a monster and an abomination of incest. Joffrey has Ilyn take the man out for execution. During the events of A Storm of Swords, Lord Tywin Lannister takes Ice from Ilyn's possession, so Tobo Mott can create 2 new swords from the Valyrian steel, one as a gift for King Joffrey, the other for his son Sir Jaime Lannister. Tywin gives Ilyn a new blade, a silver greatsword 6 feet long and bright with runes. The pommel, a chunk of dragon glass carved into the shape of a grinning skull with ruby eyes. While not a famed Valyrian steel blade, certainly a weapon much better than a man of Sir Ilyn's position could hope for. Ilyn is present at the wedding feast after Joffrey's wedding to Margaery Tyrell. Joffrey asks Ilyn for his sword so he and Margaery can cut the huge dove pie. The king chokes to death during the feast, a victim of the Strangler. Since Jaime Lannister's sword hand had been chopped off by the command of Vargo Hoat while held captive, Jaime tries to train again with his left hand. Sir Adam Marbrand defeats him easily in sparring sessions, so Jaime considers instead practicing with the mute Ilyn. During the events of A Feast of the Crows, Queen Regent Cersei Lannister blames Ilyn for Tyrion Lannister's disappearance, as the Red Keep's dungeons fall under the jurisdiction of the King's Justice. Jaime Lannister, the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, demands the service of Ilyn and Sir Adam Marbrand for leading the expedition to pacify the Riverlands and resolve the Siege of Riverrun. If Lord Beric Dondarrion, leader of the Brotherhood Without Banners, is captured, Jaime intends for him to be publicly executed by Ilyn in King's Landing. When his column stops at Hayford, Jaime chooses Ilyn as his sparring partner because Ilyn cannot talk, read or write. Ilyn easily bests Jaime in their sessions with blunt tawny swords, but Jaime is determined to improve, continuing their sparring each night. While sparring with Ilyn in the Godswood of Darry, Jaime admits to having once slept with his sister, Queen Cersei, in the bedchamber of Sir Raymond Darry after King Robert Baratheon had passed out drunk. During Jaime's war council outside of Riverrun, Edwin Frey suggests that Ilyn should behead Clement Piper, Lord of Pinkmaiden, for insubordination. Jaime has Ilyn cut down Edmure Tully from the gallows, from which he has often been threatened by Sir Ryman Frey. When Ryman objects, Jaime threatens him with Ilyn and dismisses Raymond from the siege. Edmure surrenders the castle to the new Lord of Riverrun, Emmon Frey, although Sir Brendan Tully, the Blackfish, is able to escape. Ilyn and Jaime remain at Riverrun after Forley Prester departs for the Westerlands with Edmure and the Westerlings, and the Freys return to the twins. The two knights regularly drink wine after their nightly sparring, and Jaime tells the mute further details about his incestuous relationship with Cersei. By the events in A Dance with Dragons, Sir Jaime Lannister resolves the siege of Raventree Hall and then disappears with a woman in the Riverlands. Ilyn's location is not currently known until we see A Winds of Winter. During the show's adaptation of the first 2 books, Sir Ilyn Payne does make it to screen, and his role in the first 2 seasons is mostly consistent with his book role. However, once we get to the 3rd book, A Strom of Swords, and Season 3, we find that Ilyn suddenly is nowhere to be found. It's clear ice has been taken from him, as in the book, but he is not at the Purple Wedding and is never heard from again. This means that in the show, his role from the 4th book, A Feast for Crows, is not seen, but rather much of its function in the story is picked up by Bronn, whose book story quietens down after A Storm of Swords. The removal of Ilyn and giving much of his role to Bronn extended the life of another fan favourite character and actor in Bronn. But the context of Bronn's role is very different, as the showrunners gave both Jaime and Bronn a new side quest by sending them to Dorne to rescue Princess Marcella, before the next season having them head to Riverrun to deal with Jaime's book story there. Now what's interesting about this is that Jaime's trip to Dorne and the Riverlands in the show would not have translated as well to screen, with Jaime being paired with the mute character as seen in the book. This was less of an issue in the book, with us having Jaime's point of view and getting his internal monologue. I suppose you could have had Jaime just talk at Ilyn, but I don't think they could have done that for such a large part of the show, without it feeling like a simple exposition dump. Also, Jaime choosing Bronn as his sparring partner does present several issues, given why Ilyn was chosen in the first place. Bronn can talk, and does talk. Bronn has been proven to follow the money, not the kind of man you want keeping a secret if you were Jaime. I do find it a little bit annoying as a fan who delves so deep into the lore that the show never really mentions Ilyn again. We never find out what happens to him in the show. One moment he's there, then the next he's not. Even just a simple throwaway line would have been enough. Now, as to why Sir Ilyn was not in the show past Season 2 is a little bit more complicated than most cases when it comes to cut characters, and wasn't really a decision the showrunners made, but one more forced upon them. At that time, in November 2012, The actor who played Sir Ilyn, Wilko Johnson, was diagnosed with late-stage pancreatic cancer, with him opting not to undergo treatment. But in 2014 it was discovered he had a much more treatable version of the disease and was more able to undergo treatment. But sadly, in November 2022, Wilko Johnson died at his home at the age of 75. Given Wilko's illness, it does make sense why the showrunners cut the character and replaced him with Bronn. While recasting could have been an option, I think they saw keeping Bronn around for longer a much more appealing idea, given that at the time he was a very popular character among fans. While I love Jaime and Ilyn's relationship in the books, I can understand why things played out the way they did. And with a lot of cut characters from Game of Thrones, that's one of the very few times you can say that.